Yeah, you gotta know where it's coming from. Yeah, in this room?
I call this meeting to order. This is the December 9th, 2020 regular meeting of the Schertz Planning and Zoning Commission. I think everyone's been told there's a special meeting going on over at the Civic Center for Wilson's Reserve. Everyone's in the right place? Okay. All right, item number 2, seat the alternates. If required, we have Commissioner Odom joining us on the dais tonight. Item number 3, hearing of residents. This time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the Planning and Zoning Commission. Did anyone sign up to speak? No one. Okay. Item number 4, consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda tonight. Unless pulled for discussion, these items will be acted upon without any discussion. Item number A, minutes for the November 18th, 2020 regular meeting. Item B is PC 2020-035. Consider and act upon a request for approval of a final plat of the Valvoline Express Care subdivision, an approximately 3-acre tract of land generally located approximately 1,500 feet south of the intersection between IH-35 and FM 1103, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas, also known as 5648 FM 1103. Item C is PC 2020-037. Consider and act upon a request for approval of a final plat of the Building Hope Charter School subdivision Lot 1, Block 1, an approximately 3.541 acre tract of land located southwest of the intersection of IH-35 and Fair Lawn Avenue, City of Schertz, Comal County, Texas. And item D, PC 2020-041. Consider and act upon a request for approval of a final plat of the Woman Hollering Creek Lift Station Subdivision Unit 1, an approximately 0.5 acre tract of land located at 13805 IH-10 East, City of Schertz, Bexar County, Texas. Commissioners, do we want to pull any of these for discussion? If no one has objections, I would like to pull item C. I have a couple questions about that. Is that all right? Very well. So, with that said, Chair will accept a motion on the consent agenda now consisting of items A, B, and D.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A, B, and D.
All right, I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Odom.
I'll second.
And that was Commissioner Ray. Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
An abstention?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so that's 6, no opposed, 1 abstention. Okay, if we could get to item C, does anyone, for a couple of questions. Looking at the plat, and I don't know, maybe I asked this. It's been a while since we saw this. Cross lot access. I don't see any on this plat. Is it required?
So on this one, there is no cross-lot access easement. This is, so they will have access onto the Fairlawn Avenue, and then no access onto the TxDOT I-35.
Okay, so what are the requirements for cross-lot? When, you know, because I'm used to seeing, in this one in particular, since it does not have access off 35, and I don't know what the topography is of the lot I guess everybody would say to the south of that, whether that'll ever be built upon. But what are when do we require cross-lot access?
Oh, yes, yeah. There's the.
What's the
one
zoning
down,
of this one?
GB.
So cross-lot access are generally required between the two commercial tracts of land. So if both of these are commercially zoned, there typically should be cross-lot access. I'm not sure if there's a specific stipulation regarding public schools and whether they're exempt to that, but that's typically the requirement. I can check on my phone. Give me 1 second.
Okay, so I'm still left with my dilemma of should there be one or not? See, because it's hard to undo these things once we do them. And I apologize. We probably should have discussed this on the preliminary plan. I don't know why it, but I was looking at this the other day, and particularly since the only access is onto Fairlawn, and that's caused quite a bit of concern with the residents up there in that neighborhood, that it wouldn't solve the problem immediately, but certainly it would be another potential solution in the future.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Evans.
Remember that we discussed the distinct possibility of there being a street built off of this circle that runs behind this property down to some of this commercial property to the south.
Well, yes, sir. That's shown there when you go, when you look at the plat towards the bottom there where the property butts up against the housing lots. You see that's right-of-way for the future street.
Where's your staff report? Where's your staff report?
Right here.
So what you can do instead of, I guess, specifically waiting, so what I'm saying is just required for all commercial development. You can conditionally approve it that if it is required, if there is not an exemption for a public school to have cross-lot access easement, that it should be added prior to recordation of the plat if you'd like, to give you that sort of fallback of whether it's required or not.
Okay, but so you can't tell me definitely tonight that it is or is not required?
It's required between all commercial development. If they're both owned general business district,
Yep.
then it should be required.
Okay.
Hold on just a second. So I believe the code reads that 2 points of access is required for a residential subdivision? Is that what you're asking about?
No, I'm asking about the cross-lot access,
Okay.
how typically we see it in commercial plats to where you can move from one, to keep people from having to go back out onto the main street. You can get from one business to the next, and I don't know, again, I'm sorry I didn't bring it up on preliminary plat, but that's my question tonight is, should it be there?
So we do have a requirement for cross-lot access, but it's not that it has to be in an easement at this point. I mean, it can be addressed later. I do know that we have had some properties where we haven't done that. If they're able to occupy their entire space, especially in the commercial areas where they don't need that extra cross-lot, where's your concern?
Well, it's the fact that, we're platting this commercial property right on the corner, and currently the only access to it is off of Fairlawn Avenue. That's it. And you remember when we did the preliminary plat, a lot of concerns from the residents that was, now, so the only way back to the interstate is a right onto Fairlawn around their traffic circle, back out to 35. Well, in the future, somebody develops the lot just to the south of them, and I'm sure TxDOT will give them a driveway onto 35. Well, now why can't we have cross-lot access and have the school accessing that driveway off of 35?
Mr. Outlaw, we have Jesse Cantu, the engineer, here.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Jesse Cantu with Civil Engineering Consultants. We're the civil engineer for this project. During the preliminary plat process, we were asked to put that cross-lot access easement on the lot right there to the plan south. And so it was on the preliminary plat that we showed it, because we also showed the future right-of-way as well. At that time, that was the only time we were ever asked to provide cross-lot access easement, only as
Okay.
part of the preliminary plat.
Okay.
If the council wishes, I don't believe our client would have any objection to providing cross-lot access and easement at this time, if it's still possible to do that.
Well, and I appreciate the input, and my comments really,
Can I make one?
Sure, go ahead,
statement,
Lisa.
Just so you know, so the cross lot is required, but a lot of times that comes through at site plan because they're not nailed down to exactly where they are as they're doing the design. I think in this case, we probably are fairly nailed down, but at times we're not. And so by putting that easement there creates an extra process for them to go through. And so that is why sometimes you don't actually see the easement on the plat and it's established later.
okay.
But
What's the legal if we don't show it on the plat, then what are the legal, how can with the next builder next door, they have, as far as I can tell, they have no legal right to, so. Okay. That's all, I just wanted to clear that up, so. Commissioners, anyone else? Well, he doesn't think his client would have an issue with it, and it's, I'm sorry.
Whether the client is okay with the changes, then if our civil engineer says that we can do it, then I represent the client and we'll be fine with that.
Okay. But again, let me go back to my professional planning staff, okay? Because I would like to see, and who knows, again, we sit up here and we wish we had a crystal ball. I don't know if that property next to them will ever be developed, but I'd like to see, I'd like to make sure the provisions are there. So, and I'm just so used to seeing them, okay? So one option that you had is to put a condition on it that they add access to that lot, and I don't know, that's compass-wise, but to the south, but it's plan west, I guess. What is that gonna, so if we do that conditionally, we can theoretically, we could approve this tonight and the folks could move on. Otherwise, if we want to see it added first, then this has got to come back around again.
Correct.
And we're talking, what kind of, I understand you've got a site plan because you're going to show it to us later, correct? So if we don't do this, if we don't approve this plat tonight, what does that do to their project in terms of a timeline? Does that keep them from pulling their permits and things?
I mean, theoretically, potentially, so it would delay the final plat being approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission until January. It would likely delay the pulling of the building permits. I think,
Okay.
while the site plan's being shown, I think it's basically good to go dependent on this being approved.
So, but if we do it conditionally, then they can press on and just make whatever amendment is required to the.
Correct. You could approve it with conditions that they could add the cross-lot access easement without additional Planning and Zoning Commission approval.
Okay, I think I'm done. Commissioners, if someone has more questions or someone would like to make a motion, how we want to handle this?
Chairman, make a motion, we approve item C with the provision of a possibility of a crosshatch
Cross-lot access easement.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve conditionally from Commissioner Greenwald with the condition that a cross-lot access easement be added to the plat before recording. Yes? Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Haynes. All right, anybody else? Questions, comments? Not, we'll call.
Maybe you can answer for me, Mr. Chairman. Just looking through the UDC, there's ordinance 15-Charlie-21, which is fire access between lots. It's a requirement. So would that come into play at that point in time, even though it's not a requirement for other than commercial, as we just found out? But it's under the ordinance, and where does that fit in?
Well, without seeing that in reading it, I'm not sure. That's something I was not aware of.
It's labeled access for adjacent lots.
Okay. But that would be a good reason to have it. Anybody else? Staff, you want to add anything before? No? Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Hey, that's 7 in favor, none opposed, for conditional approval of this plat. Thank you. Item number 5 is a public hearing. We'll conduct a public hearing for ZC 2020-010, a request to rezone approximately 10.5 acres of land from Planned Development District to Planned Development District, generally located southeast of the intersection between Halley Chase and Halley Loop, more specifically described as Halley's Cove, subdivision units 4A and 4B, City of Schertz, Bexar County, Texas. For those in the audience that may not have been through a public hearing, we'll start it with a staff presentation. We'll offer the applicant an opportunity if they have any comments for the commission. We'll then open it up for public comments. And finally, we'll end up with questions and discussion here on among the commissioners. Nick?
Okay, so what you're seeing here is a PDD amendment for the Halley's Cove Units 4A and 4B. It's a rezoning application because it'll apply to a new zoning ordinance with the new development standards. So it's a rezone from Planned Development District to Planned Development District, but it's technically just a PD amendment for these specific units in Halley's Cove. Just to get your reference here, so I know it's a bit tough to tell, this lighter green is the subject property boundary for Halley's Cove Units 4A and 4B. This is the remaining build-out of Halley's Cove in FM 1518. Since it's a public hearing, we did send out notice mailers. We received 3 back in favor of the proposed zone change out of the 26 that we had sent out. So what's the purpose of this rezoning application? So this is the larger Halley's Cove Master Development Plan. You can see so units 1, 2, 3, and 5 are either built out or currently platted and approaching build out. Units 4A and 4B are the remaining units that have yet to achieve final plat approval or build out. And so we're going to zoom in to these specifically, these 4 lots right here within units 4A and 4B. So during the design process for the preliminary plat for units 4A and 4B, the drainage easement right here, which keynote A you can see, was required by our City of Schertz Engineering Department to be enlarged based on the design results, which affects these 4 lots right here. So what you can see is, as an example, this is the remaining portion or part of it of units 4A and 4B. You can see that each of the depth of the lots is just over 120 feet, for instance. And then if you'll look at lots 8 through 11, it's just over 109, and that's due to the increase or the increased depth of this drainage easement. And so technically, these lots, 8 through 11, no longer meet the zoning regulations because they no longer meet the dimensional standards of the zoning ordinance. And so in order to plat these lots, they are required to modify the development standards in order to get the same number of lots. And per the original plan development district, so in that amendment section, any change to the dimensional standards requires an amendment to the plan development district. So that's why we're here. So what's changing? It's pretty simple. So here's the current dimensional standards. And again, this is the only modification to the PDD for units 4A and 4B only. So what you'll see is the minimum lot size dimensions here, 80 by 119 with a minimum area of 9,600 square feet. And what you can see is the addition of a superscript C right here with the arrow pointing to the language that lots adjacent to drainage easements will have a minimum lot depth of 109 feet and a minimum area of 8,720 square feet. 8720 comes from 80 by 109, straight exactly. And again, this is to account for those lots adjacent to those drainage easements during which the easement was discovered needed to be upsized during the design process after the original PDD was approved. And so just real quick, just want to touch on it, just so you know, this is the Hallease Cove subdivision. You can see it's primarily in the estate neighborhood subdivision. Since this is only a modification to the dimensional standards, this doesn't change the intent of the plan development district, and it still is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. And since the only modification to the existing Hallease Cove PDD is this amendment to the dimensional standards, which is necessary to plat all the lots given the changes to the drainage channel, staff does recommend approval of the zone change as submitted. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Is the applicant here to make any, wish to make any comments?
No, he emailed me this afternoon. He's in quarantine.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so we'll open this up for comments from the public. Anyone wishing to address the commission on this subject is welcome to step up to the dais or up to the microphone. Nobody. No one? One more time? I need an auctioneer or something, you know. No. Last chance. All right. So we'll close public comment, open it up to the commissioners. You already answered my question was how many lots, and it's only those 4.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All you're going to do is add this table to the existing PDD.
Yes. So the change is, so what's happening is this is actually only applying to those 2 units. And as a subset of those 2 units, only those 4 lots because of this stipulation, lots adjacent to drainage easements. So, yes, this is straight cut and paste from their development standards.
I do have one question,
Yes.
just real quick. So based on the language that you have in there for subscript C, are there any other lots in this development that are adjacent to drainage easements that they could shrink up?
So not within units 4A and 4B, which is the only physical boundary, which is the physical boundary of this specific plan development district. So Hallease Cove units 1, 2, 3, and 5 will remain under the original PDD, and only these 2 units, which was originally just 1, unit 4, are there. That's the only unit subject to these new standards. And so there's nothing there's nothing else in those units.
Okay.
Anyone else? And the words aren't here, but I assume since this is a zoning issue, it's a recommendation to City Council, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So if anyone has a motion,
motion to approve recommendation for ZC 2020-010-A as presented.
all right, so I understand from Commissioner Haynes, that's a motion to recommend approval to City Council. Have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Ray again, all righty. Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. 7-4 and none opposed. So we'll make that recommendation of approval
Yes,
to the city council.
Yes, sir.
Item number 6, items for individual consideration. Item A is PC 2020-038. Consider and act upon a request for approval of a replat of the Oaks at Green Valley 2, Lot 114R, an approximately 3-acre tract of land located at the northeast corner of the intersection between FM 3009 and Arroyo Verde, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas. Nick?
All right, so this is, like you said, a replat of the Oaks at Green Valley subdivision, Lot 114R. An aerial map for reference again. So this is FM 3009 right here, this road. This is Savannah, turning into Arroyo Verde into that subdivision. And then this outline in green is the subject property right here. Currently built out with that strip center, the retail with like Anchor Bar and the other ones around there. So cut from the replat exhibit, because it would have been a bit hard to tell if it was all in there. So this is what's currently platted, the lot 114R block 1, which is a little bit over 3 acres. And then it's going to be split into 2 separate lots, lot 115 block 1, which is just under 2 acres, and lot 116 block 1, just over 1 acre, in order to develop the drive-through coffee shop going here on lot 116, the site plan, which obviously you'll see later from the agenda. Both lots will still have frontage on the FM 3009. Following TxDOT's review, so the access point for both lots is still going to be through here, shared through this cross-lot access easement here into the drive-through coffee shop. So the replat meets all of the city's regulations and the subdivision requirements. We received one concern from a resident yesterday evening about the lack of a potential trail easement, and I apologize, this will be new to you. This wasn't in the staff report. We received it last night. The concern of a lack of a trail easement. So here, let me go to the aerial for you. So this is, if I can find my mouse, this is the site. This is Arroyo Verde 3009. This is where the lot 116 is going to be, and this is a different lot right here on the hard corner. So currently, this is a private greenbelt lot for the Arroyo Verde subdivision maintained by the HOA, and there's a walking trail here that connects down to Oak Forest Park after crossing Circle Oak Drive. And so while not on the actual master thoroughfare plan or the master trails plan, so the master trails plan actually denotes the trail along 3009, and then as it passes Savannah and Arroyo Verde, it jets out beyond the roadway. Here, it's still along the roadway. So that's why it's not necessarily a requirement of the plat to take that into account, that sort of easement for pedestrian and bicycle access. But as the resident pointed out, it's used currently to connect that. And so we called the applicant and the property owner, and they were amenable to adding a potential 20-foot wide pedestrian and bicycle access easement, something like this, not to scale, obviously, that would connect this private greenbelt lot in Arroyo Verde Unit 1 to the city-owned lot right on the hard corner, which is right here, so that they can connect Oak Forest Park to the trails in the Arroyo Verde HOA. And so staff is actually recommending conditional approval of the replat, excuse me, not final plat, to allow the applicant to add a 20-foot pedestrian and bicycle access easement on the northern corner of the proposed lot 116 prior to the recordation of the replat. While again, not part of the trails master plan, both the applicant and the city feel like the addition of the easement could add some public good. So that is the new staff recommendation. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments?
Is all that telephone equipment on the city-owned lot,
Sorry, say that again?
is all of the telephone equipment down there in those boxes on the city-owned lot?
I don't know if all of it's on the city-owned lot. There is that large easement there, though. I'm not sure if it's all on that lot, though.
I got a question.
Well, go back to the picture that shows, yes.
This one.
All right. All of that telephone stuff is down here where she turns and comes back to the road. Yeah, that last car right there is just about where those large telephone interchanges are at.
Sure.
So is that currently on the lot being replatted, or is that on the city-owned?
I believe it's right here, correct, Mark? Is it on this northern adjacent corner? Right here? Okay. He says, so the large amount of kind of poles and equipment is actually inside the right-of-way, but anything elsewhere that's not in the right-of-way would be within this easement here. That's Mark Johnson, project engineer.
Okay, can I ask my question now?
Yes, of course, sorry.
Is this going to be a public easement or a private easement for that development?
So it would be a public pedestrian and bicycle access easement.
Who's going to keep it up?
So the easement, there's an existing just walking trail. It's not necessarily about the addition of a path or the upkeep of necessarily a path. It's just about access through. So there's not necessarily, like I said, it's not on the master thoroughfare plan, not on the trails plan. There's not going to be some large, sidewalk construction project. It's literally just about access. So that this can connect.
I'm probably overthinking it, but 20 feet's quite a distance for
Yeah, so
a bike trail.
if ever in the future it was potentially added, it would be accounted for the 10-foot hike and bike trail with 5 feet either side so we can maintain it.
But again, an easement, the property itself is owned, ownership of the property, that just, an easement just gives people the right, or utilities the right to cross the property. That easement will still belong to the property owner. It's not a city hike and bike trail, so the city's not going to be interested. And this was at the request of I guess the Arroyo Verde HOA, so.
Of a resident.
Okay, of a resident. So, if things, it just seems like if they want to use it, they'll.
Yeah, that's simply what it's
keep it
about.
up.
Just about access and throughput for pedestrians and bikes right here.
Unless sometime in the future they try to add that to the city
Sure.
plan, but.
Which accounts for the size.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a drive-through all the way for both lots?
So right now, it's just about the plat. It's the purpose of a drive-through coffee shop. It would enter through this access point approved by TxDOT, and then come from lot 115 to 116 through across that access easement. But yes, the purpose is for a drive-through coffee shop. You want to say?
Yeah, can I?
Of course.
Sorry.
That's fine. Go right ahead.
I was visiting with my client about the pedestrian easement, and I guess the only concern we would have is just, if it's an easement, then we would assume some liability if someone gets hurt passing through that easement potentially, and so I think it would potentially, I think our preference might be to actually grant it to the city if the city would desire that, so that it doesn't become someone passing through private property issue. So
Okay.
I think we can continue the conversation with staff and figure out what the best way is to address that request.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the condition would just be allowing them to add it if they want before recordation without having to come back to P&Z.
Correct, yes. Yeah. So we used to talk about chicken and Mexican restaurants, and I guess we better add coffee places to that. Like they're popping up all over the place. Commissioners, any more comments, questions, discussion?
Nick, can you go back to the picture, the overhead picture of that lot and show us that trail again?
This one?
No, the actual Google picture, yeah, right there.
So this isn't the trail. This is East Dietz Creek.
That's Dietz Creek right there.
There's just a walking path.
So there's a path that people have been taking from that housing area along Dietz Creek and then crossing over, and so it's worn a path into there. Is that correct?
Essentially, there's a walking trail. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the place that people are walking.
Yeah.
Okay. And we have one resident that's concerned that private property is going to be developed, and it's going to take a little bit of that path away, so they're going to have to walk around or just walk through the parking lot of that private development.
So I think the main thing is just about being able to walk through. So it's not necessarily about being able to walk around this area if this is going to be taken away. There's nothing necessarily being taken away. It's here as it exists. Like this lot exists without this easement currently. This would just be kind of putting this on paper that they have a path to access this private greenbelt through this undeveloped lot to get to the park on the other side of the street.
I guess the concern is that the property owner puts up, well, that brings up another question. When they're going to have to put a masonry wall back along there, right?
So not necessarily around the property edge. It'll likely for this, given the floodplain limitations, it'll be not on the property boundary.
Okay.
It'll just encompass.
So the concern of the resident was the potential of a fence or a wall cutting, because I'm sure Lot 33 has probably got a fence around his property, so that's where they're kind of, right now they're cutting across private property.
Sure.
And they're probably concerned that a fence or something might go up. Where is the drainage in relation? Is it just off the top of the plat there? What I'm trying to, maybe if you go back to the one where you have the property outlined, maybe I can see what I'm looking for.
So in this aerial, sir,
Okay.
the on-the-grind coffee drive-through would be located essentially on this.
Well, I was trying to figure out where Dietz Creek was running, and it actually runs
Bisects kind of diagonally, like at a 45 across this.
right across there, yeah. So
The proposed improvements would not even get back into that area.
right.
Yes, sir.
So now I can see up in that very top corner is where they're asking for the access. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else, commissioners? And this will be, this is a planning and zoning action for a replat. So if anyone would care to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve PC 2020-038, replat that part of Oaks at Green Valley 2 Lot 11 or 114R.
Do you want to make that a conditional approval to include that? It's up to you.
It said it might be future proposed. It doesn't say that they're going to do it. So,
Yeah, this gives them the option to allow it without coming back to you is all it essentially does.
okay. I'll go ahead and add the conditional approval for that in my motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, you get in there first. You can let Commissioner Ray have it again, okay.
I think it was,
Okay.
I think it was between Mr. Greenwald and Mr. Odom, actually.
Oh, was it?
No? Never mind, I can't hear you there.
Plat.
Okay.
It was way over there?
Goes way over there.
Well, I better go get my ears checked, I'll tell you.
Well,
It sure sounded like it came from that side again. All right, so the second was from you, all right.
I heard it from you too. Yeah.
I want everybody back up here, I really
Okay.
do.
No, I
Okay.
understand.
Can we maybe spend some money on some plexiglass? I don't know. Okay, so we have a recommendation for conditional approval from Commissioner Haynes, a second from Commissioner Platt. Any further discussion, questions? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. That's 7 ayes, none opposed. Item number 7, requests and announcements. Request by commissioners to place items on a future planning and zoning agenda. Anything? Nothing. Okay. Item B, announcements by commissioners. And I'm sure you all you noted the new information on the bottom of the agenda where they're feeding us, they're now giving us feedback on our... That works well for me, yes. Thank you very much. Okay, item C, announcements by city staff.
Just a couple of new site plan applications, actually both for applications you already heard about. So this is the one we just talked about. So this is the Oaks at Green Valley 2, Lot 116. This is the approximately 500 square foot drive-through coffee shop. The replat you just approved would split it into the Lot 115 here and the Lot 116.
And then this is the Building Hope Charter School Lot 1, Block 1, approximately 28,000 square foot charter school, and along IH-35 and Fairlawn Avenue.
That's it.
Okay, and then here is, for your information, you can read those as city council results. So I see no further business. Meeting's adjourned.